Hello and welcome to a new video. It's been a minute. Today I wanted to participate in the second palette tag that was created by Glines and Samantha March. I will link both of their videos down below. This is kind of old news. They launched that palette tag number 2 a little while ago. My plan was to do it right away, and then I didn't, of course, for reasons that would take just too long to explain. But at first I was like, maybe it's old news and it's, it's not going to be interesting. But you know what? It's interesting to me. So I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go through the 11 categories that they created, if I'm not mistaken, and talk about the palettes I selected. Okay, the first category is an all-time favorite, and I cannot choose. I'm sorry, I cannot choose. I have to go with the Tati Beauty palette, which I actually have on my eyes right now, and the Sultry palette by ABH. The funny thing is that, again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Samantha March's favorite was Sultry, and Allie Glines' favorite was Tati Beauty. That should tell you something about these palettes in particular. I just love them so much. This Sultry is one of the first, I believe, that I got, that I really experimented with and played with different textures. I mean, some of the shades here are gorgeous. The mattes are amazing. This black is just straight up black. It's a beautiful palette. It is also attached to somewhat enjoyable memories for me, so it definitely is a special one. The packaging, of course, speaks to me, but other than that, really, the palette, the color story, the quality of ABH shadows in general, really, it's all good. You cannot get this anymore, I believe, because it was limited edition, which I don't really understand why. I mean, I prefer this so much more than, say, Modern Renaissance. And Modern Renaissance is a bit classic that everybody had and loved, and I'm like, try this one. Fortunately, probably you can't, but I believe it's still somewhat available in like kits or something like that. But really, they should bring this back. They should make this a part of the permanent collection. It is amazing. And regarding the Tati Beauty palette, which, like I said, I am wearing on my eyes today, I'm wearing mostly these rose here and then some of the black as well to like deepen the outer corner. This is, I mean, look at it. Look at it. The glitters in themselves, like even if there was only the glitters, I would be like sold. That's it, I'm getting this. The colors, the different textures, the blendability, just everything. I mean, sure, the glitters are going to be messy. Usually when I use this palette or any kind of glitter, I will do my eyes first and then clean it up and then do my foundation and stuff. I don't mind. If you want something that like it's just very simple and easy to do, I mean, you can still use a bunch of the mattes and metallics because they're very easy to use, but granted, you probably wouldn't need this whole thing if you don't like glitters and metallics and stuff. But I mean, this is just a beautiful palette. Again, I'm so sorry, but you cannot get this anymore because Tati Beauty is unfortunately done, which is a shame because I was so curious to see what was up next. But really, I mean, if you like glitters, you're gonna love it. If you like metallics, you're gonna love it. If you like special shades, this one is a sequin, so it's a matte with a bunch of small glitters, you're gonna be pleased. And if you like pigmented, easy to blend mattes, you'll be pleased. And you have a bunch of different colors that which you can easily create a very simple neutral look and then go out there with the pink and the orange. So I cannot sell this palette enough, honestly. It just really, I'm sorry for you if you don't have it because it's so good. Second category is the new favorite palette, and I would have to go with this Miss Claus, the Hit List palette from BH Cosmetics. This was their holiday release, which again was limited edition. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but what can I say? I like it. This is a new favorite because it's a very recent palette that I bought. I mean, it was released for the holidays, but I actually got it in January, I believe. I got it on sale too, so it was definitely a steal. You know, I love BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes, both when it comes to the colors and the formulas of the mattes, the shimmery shades. It's always a hit in my book. And this one is just so fun. You know, it really is fun. I feel like it's a palette that I can create a bunch of different looks with. There's so many options, and at the same time, it's not overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's just, I also like the way that the palette is like put together. It all really just makes sense. There's this gold shade here that's just so pretty. You have very vibrant shades as well. The mattes, I mean, yeah, the mattes are always very good with BH, very pigmented. Not the easiest to blend because they're so pigmented, but still it's easy to work with. And honestly, yeah, it's really not expensive. I feel like BH kind of sets the bar very high when it comes to other brands, because it's like, if they can do it for that little money, what are the other brands doing? You know, why is it that other brands are so much more expensive and they cannot come up with a formula that is that good? So definitely this is a new favorite. I haven't used it a ton yet, but I know this is going to be one of those palettes that I can just really have fun with. The next category is the palette that I keep for the memories, and that would have to be my Tarte High Tides and Good Vibes palette. This palette, I don't really like it. It does have glitters, which I love, but they're not my favorite glitter. They're not very multi-dimensional. I don't know how I can explain it. Like, this is just silver glitter. You know, I like to have a bit more of a sparkle, and I don't know. I love glitters. They're good glitters. It's just not my favorite. And I mean, the other shades, the shadows, I just really don't like the quality of these. I feel like they're dry. They're not necessarily super pigmented, yet they're not easy to work with either. The color story, honestly, I shouldn't have bought it because there's a bunch of blue in there and I don't like blues on my eyes. So I don't necessarily enjoy this palette. I still keep it, like I said, for the memories, because I bought this the day it was released in the Sephora store, the flagship store on the Champs-Elysees. It's a very special palette. It was a very special time in my life, although now looking back, definitely didn't make the best decisions back then, but still, it's a special palette, you know. I don't use it a ton, obviously, because it's just not one that I'm gonna reach for, but I know I'm always gonna keep it for the memories. Even if one day I'm like, I need to declutter half my collection, like this, I feel like this is going to be a special memory box kind of a palette. The next category is the most underrated palette, and I would have to go with Zoeva palettes in general. I picked this one because out of the three that I have in the big format, this is my favorite one. This is the Melody palette. Generally speaking, I feel like Zoeva eyeshadow palettes, I never really hear much about, and yet I think they're great, both in terms of formula. I do enjoy the mattes. I think that they're pigmented and easy to work with, and the more like metallic shades are always very beautiful. So I don't know why I don't hear about them more often than I do. But also when it comes to the color story, I like a lot of them. Like, I remember one day being in a Sephora store and there were a bunch of Zoeva palettes, and I was like, I don't know which one to choose because there's a bunch of different color stories that just speak to me, that are appealing to me. Generally speaking, I really like these palettes, and they're not as expensive as many other brands from that caliber, I would say. They're not oh my god, the best eyeshadows, but for the price, with the quality and the color story that you get, I'm surprised I just don't hear more about it. Next up, the palette that is not a favorite but can't get rid of. That was just so easy. That's the Naked palette. I would say, generally speaking, the Naked series from Urban Decay. But this one in particular, this is the original, and I'm never gonna throw it out, even though, I mean, it's clearly not a favorite, both in terms of color story and in terms of formula. It's really not my favorite. Also, in terms of the ratio between matte and shimmery shades, it's just, yeah, it's really not a favorite. However, because it's the original Naked, which is like such a pillar in makeup history, and because this is not made anymore, I feel like this I'm never going to be able to get rid of, even though it's really not a palette that I love all that much. It's just, I can't get rid of it. I can't. There's nothing very special about it except for the fact that it's the Naked. So yeah, I'm keeping this. Next category is my fave collab palette. Again, this was quite easy. I would have to go for the Jackie Aina with Anastasia Beverly Hills. Look at this package. Oh my god. This palette, this honestly, it could have been in the most underrated palette as well, because I feel like it didn't get the love it deserved. But to be fair, it wasn't an issue of people not pushing it, not liking it enough. It was more an issue of the brand kind of releasing palette on top of palette on top of palette and not letting the public have the time to actually enjoy this. On top of that, this as well, I believe, was limited edition, which, again, why would you do this? I got this on Beauty Bay. Maybe some of them are still available because I got it not that long ago. It's just, it is so special. There's a lot of palette you could argue that, yeah, but you can find this or that shade somewhere else. You could find this kind of combination somewhere else. This is just so unique. Now, I personally enjoy the ABH shadow formula very much. I know some people don't like it as much because the metallics can be a bit messy. The matte shades are a bit powdery. That's a fact. I'm not denying it. But honestly, I don't mind. I don't mind having a mess under my eyes when I have a formula that I feel it's so nice to work with. And I mean, look at this color story. Look at those shades. This palette is just so very special. It is definitely my favorite collab, and just one of my favorite palette on its own. Really, it's amazing. The next category is my 2021 favorite palette. That was easy as well. That has to be the retro palette from Natasha Denona. I recently saw a video from Tati Westbrook saying that she actually didn't like it, and I was like, wait, what? Excuse me, what are you saying right now? My god, I love this so much. How can you not love this? I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is such beautiful tones, beautiful colors. I mean, the quality, it's Natasha Denona quality. It's probably my favorite formula. I know I'm not the only one on this. It's just, it's beautiful. It's the kind of colors I really enjoy wearing. Obviously, it brings out the blue in my eyes, and it's just, it's beautiful. I also love the fact that despite it being kind of a monochromatic kind of a palette, you still have a lot of different tones. You can get a lot of different looks with it because you have more of these like nude shades, you have a bunch of like more top shades, some deeper ones as well, more like burgundy, more berry. You really have a bunch of different tones in it, and so it's not as monochromatic as it looks. It's an amazing palette, honestly, and yeah, my favorite for 2021. The next category is the palette I didn't expect to love. Now, that was a bit tricky because usually when I buy a palette, it's because I expect to love it. I'm not yet at that point where I can be like, you know what? Not sure I'm gonna love it, but I'm still gonna buy it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I have a restricted budget. So if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna find a way. I know I can find a way for me to enjoy it, you know? There were palettes where I was disappointed by that I thought I would enjoy and I actually didn't. But the other way around, it doesn't really happen. The first one I thought about was the Carly Bible, because I can't say I was super attracted to the color story at first, but at the same time, I know that when I bought it, I mean, sure, I bought it because it was on sale, but I also bought it thinking, you know what? It might take some thinking here, but I know I'm gonna enjoy this palette. Instead, I went with this Beauty Bay nude palette. I could have picked any other of my Beauty Bay palettes that I have. Generally speaking, Beauty Bay is not a brand I was, you know, necessarily attracted by. I didn't really have them on my radar. I had this in my mind. I know I'm wrong for thinking that way. I had this in my mind that, you know, it wasn't going to be incredible quality, and it's actually really, really good. They're not expensive. They're easy to blend. They're pigmented. I mean, the metallic shades, they're not the most shiny metallics, but I mean, they're decent, honestly. And again, for the price, I mean, you can't really beat that. This, as well as the other like big bright palette that I have from the brand, I didn't buy them. I got them as gifts with purchase when I ordered on Beauty Bay, which is another reason why I was kind of skeptical. Like, if they're giving them away, it's probably not that good. It is. It honestly is. They recently released their Valentine's Day palette. I don't forget the name. It has a bunch of like purples in it. Oh my god, I want this palette. I have like no money at all at the moment, but as soon as I do, you best believe I'm gonna purchase that palette, even if I have to pay full price, which is not even that bad. It's just, I love it so much. They have a bunch of other palettes and I'm like, okay, this looks pretty, but it's usually very bright and or even deep, vivid colors. That one I feel is a bit more soft and maybe easier to come up with everyday kind of looks. But anyway, generally speaking, the Beauty Bay eyeshadow palettes, didn't expect to love them really. This one I can't say I use a whole lot, but it's a nice palette to have. It has a bunch of different neutral and nude shades. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Next up, I have the palette that sparks joy. Now, this was a bit tough. The thing is, there are a lot of palettes that spark joy within me for different reasons. There are palettes that spark joy because they're so bright and colorful, and it's just, you know, yeah, it's joyful. There are palettes that spark joy because when I look at them, I know I'm going to be able to create a beautiful look no matter what I'm going for. There are palettes that spark joy because I have special memory attached to them. The palette I chose to show you today is the one that sparks joy for all of these reasons, and it's the Mercury Retrograde palette from Huda Beauty. I actually wore it yesterday. I hadn't used it in such a long time, despite the fact that I love it so much. I believe because at one point I was using that palette so much, I was like, okay, I need to take a break and like use the other things I have. This, the color story to me is joyful. It's not like super, oh my god, like bright, but there's so many glitters and just nice joyful shades. It's also a palette I'm always happy to use because I know if I want to create something quickly and beautiful, it's gonna be easy. And it also is attached to so many amazing memories, to a time in my life that brought so much joy, really. So this palette is very special. It's hard to choose one in particular that sparks joy because, like I said, I mean, I love makeup, you know, so most of the time when I open a palette and I see glitters or whatnot, I'm like, ooh, you know, I get excited. But this one really hits a special spot in my heart, so that's why I chose it. The next one is the newest palette in my collection. That was quite easy because I know which one I bought last. And this is the Catrice 5-in-a-box mini eyeshadow palette. This is the shade Vivid Burgundy Look. Not a huge fan. Okay, first of all, the color story, I would have preferred to have one transition shade instead of two deeper matte shades, if that makes sense. Still, I mean, it's nice. It's a nice color story. I bought it mainly because it was very cheap and I wanted to test it, and because it looks like a very obvious dupe for Natasha Denona mini palettes. It's not my favorite. I have to say it's just not my favorite, but I mean, the price is just so right that I would not advise you not to get it. If you're looking for something that's just quick and easy and that's not expensive, I mean, it's fine. It's just, yeah, it's just not really that great. And last but certainly not least, we have the first palette that I used in 2022. That was, I had to think a little bit. I'm pretty sure it was this one. This is the bronze palette from Natasha Denona. Please, can we just take a moment to enjoy this beauty? This I got for Christmas from my dad. I remember in the beginning when I would look at it before I decided to purchase it, I was like, yeah, it's just a bunch of bronze. I'm not sure I really like it. And one day I wore a kind of a orangey bronzy look and I was like, wait, I actually really like this on me. And I know I love the Natasha Denona quality, and then it was 30% off on Sephora, so I was like, oh hell yeah, let me grab that one. Now this one, contrary to the retro palette, you're not going to be able to create 1,000 different looks. It's always going to be pretty much the same tones, which I'm okay with, honestly, because there's different shimmers in here and they're all very, very pretty. And sure, they're kind of similar, but they're different at the same time. And you can never get enough Natasha Denona shadow. So I don't mind if there's a few shades in here that I'm like, you know, look a little bit similar. You know they're not. And that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel because it's free, so why wouldn't you? And I will see you guys next time. Bye.